Yeah, sorry for the interruption. So in spectral domain OCT, the reference arm or the reference mirror is fixed. And the second difference is in the detector. In the time domain OCT, the detector for the signal is a single detector. In spectral domain OCT, it is an array of very fast moving detectors, which is known as a spectrophotometer. Coming on to the swept source OCT uses a fine tunable laser of the wavelength of 1050 nanometer, which is higher than the infrared rays. So this translates into very high number of A scans per second. Thus, the resolution of image is very high in swept source OCT. Also, because of this higher wavelength, the penetration of the light is more. So in the same image, we can also study the vitreous as well as the choroid up to the choroidoscleral interface. And also, this higher wavelength translates into a larger scan length. So the scan length in swept source OCT is around 12 millimeters. Coming on to the OCT images, the OCT images come in two formats. It is either the color coded images or grayscale images. So the color coded images, the structures which are highly reflective, they are represented by warm colors, which is like red through yellow. And the low reflective structures are represented by cool colors, which is green through blue. And whenever there is no reflection, the structure appears black. These color coded images can be misleading as the colors are not true colors, they are false colors, and any dramatic change in the color can be misinterpreted by the examiner as large changes in the OCT reflectivity. So ideally, whenever you are reading an OCT, you should always read the OCT in the grayscale images. So OCT machine pe there is a part where you could change the image from false color to grayscale images. So here in grayscale images, it utilizes brighter shading in lieu of warmer colors. So basically the structures which are hyper reflective, they will appear bright white, and the structures which are hypo reflective, they will appear slightly blackish in color. So grayscale images are always good to study the morphology of epiretinal membranes, photoreceptors, and the retinal pigment epithelium. Then coming on to the terminology. So whenever you are reading an OCT, you have to, give the terminology in two forms. It either depends on the reflection of light from the tissue, or it depends on the transmission of light through the tissue. So whenever the reflection is more, we call it hyper reflective. So such lesions or such areas will appear as bright white. Whenever the reflection of light or the backscattering of light is less, we call it hyporeflective, and such areas or lesions will appear as black in the OCT image. So we are talking about the grayscale images. The second sort of terminology is transmission of light. So whenever more light is transmitted, you see again hyper. So here what happens is, and whenever less light is transmitted, it is called shadowing, and you see the pictures as hypo or black. So in the third picture, this is a sub-ILM hemorrhage. So we see just beneath the ILM, there is hyper-reflectivity, but then there is back shadowing. So this hemorrhage is not allowing the light from the OCT to pass through it. So the posterior structures are not visible. So posterior structures show hypo. So this is because of less transmission. In the fourth picture, we see that there is, thinning or atrophy of the outer retinal layers. So because of this, more light is being transmitted from the atrophy of the RP and outer retinal layers. Therefore, the posterior structures appear more white. So this hyper is because of increased transmission. Then coming on to the OCT nomenclature. So this nomenclature was given by Storengi et al. In 2014 on a spectral domain OCT in the International Nomenclature OCT panel. So here the OCT, in a spectral domain OCT, and especially when you can image the choroid also with the enhanced depth imaging platform, the different layers can be, layered as.
Ma'am, I can't see your screen. बाकी लोगों को दिख रही है क्या?
Yes, ma'am.
हाँ दिख रही है.
Is it visible?
मोनिका हाँ विजिबल है. मोनिका रिकनेक्ट कर दो, लॉग आउट करके दोबारा रिकनेक्ट कर लो.
Right. So layers from inside out on an OCT will be
हाँ
मैम.
हाँ बोलो.
मैम जो सीरस टाइप ऑफ जो
जो फ्लूइड होता है उसमें शेडोइंग इफेक्ट नहीं होगा ना मैम?
नहीं, सिरस में shadowing effect नहीं होगा. It will be only if there is some blood.
ओके मैम. और मैम
if
ये
you
कोरोइडल
have-
वस्कुलेचर
क्या
सर
ठीक है.
सर डाउट्स क्या बाद में रख लें? एक काम करें
No.
सर, क्योंकि हमारे पास 4
हाँ.
बजे तक का ही टाइम है.
ठीक है मैम.
अर्पित, इफ यू डोंट माइंड, पता है क्या है, फिर हमारा
नहीं,
वो
नहीं, मैम. हाँ,
बहुत
हाँ.
लंबा हो जाता है.
मैं नोट कर लेता हूँ मैम साथ साथ.
Yes,
है ना,
yes.
नोट कर लो
हाँ.
सारे डाउट्स, लास्ट में रख लेंगे.
हाँ.
लेक्चर होने दो.
ठीक.
बताइए सर, आप क्या कहते हैं?
हाँ, नहीं लास्ट में रखो.
है ना सर,
ऐसे
टाइम 4 बजे तक का
कंस्ट्रक्शन,
ही है.
हाँ, वो फ्लो
हाँ.
जो खत्म हो जाता है.
फ्लो खत्म हो जाता है. ठीक है.
I'll come to it, Arpit. Yeah. So the
Yes, ma'am,
retinal,
yes, ma'am.
the layers in an OCT from inside out are posterior vitreous cortex. Then you have internal limiting membrane, retinal nerve fiber layer, ganglion cell layer, inner plexiform, inner nuclear layer, outer plexiform, outer nuclear layer. Then you come to the outer retina, which will consist of external limiting membrane. Then
इसमें पॉइंटर डाल दो,
uh,
पॉइंटर डाल के बता दो.
the pointer,
हाँ.
I can show through this.
हाँ, दिस इज विजिबल.
हाँ, नहीं तो इसको डॉक्टर चारू आप इसे कलर्ड भी कर सकते हो. एनोटेशंस होते हैं वहां पर जाके, अगर आप चाहो तो. कोई हो
नहीं,
तो
वो
आप
इसी को ही कर दो ना अभी.
ठीक है.
हाँ, पेन ठीक है, पर उसमें वो अच्छा ठीक है. ओके, गो अहेड.
I think
वैसे ही चलने दो.
pen was okay, right? So in the outer retina, the layers are, the first hyperreflective band is the external limiting membrane. Then you have a hyporeflective zone, which is the myoid zone. Then you again have a hyperreflective band, which is the ellipsoid zone, which was previously termed as the inner segment, outer segment junction in the photoreceptors. Then you again have sort of a hyperreflective zone, which is the interdigitation zone. And then finally you have the RP and Brooks membrane complex. So coming on to, yes, so some layers will appear hyperreflective and some layers will appear hyporeflective. So what are the layers which appear hyperreflective? The layers which have large amount of pigment, for example, RPE. So RPE has very high amount of melanin, so it reflects more light. So RP will always appear hyperreflective. Then the ellipsoid zone. So ellipsoid zone again is ISOS junction. So the junction between the inner segment and outer segment of the photoreceptors. So here what happens is there is, compact arrangement of mitochondria, which again is responsible for more reflection of the light. So ellipsoid zone also appears hyperreflective. And then the layers which have horizontal arrangement of fibers in a compact manner, essentially the nerve fiber layer and the plexiform layers, the inner and outer plexiform layers. All these layers appear hyperreflective on OCT. Then we come to what are hyporeflective layers. So the cellular layers which are devoid of fibers, mainly the ganglion cell layer, it is a cellular layer, the nuclear layers, the inner nuclear and outer nuclear layer. So all these, so this is the ganglion cell layer, it appears slightly black, so it is hyporeflective. Then the inner nuclear layer is hyporeflective, and then this large outer nuclear layer is hyporeflective. Why is it hyporeflective? Because these cellular layers, they don't have fibers, so the reflection of light is less from these layers. Then this international nomenclature for OCT had divided the outer layers, again I'll be mentioning, as the external limiting membrane, which is sort of the junction between the nuclei of photoreceptors and the inner segment of photoreceptors. So this is the external limiting membrane. It appears hyperreflective. Then there is a hyporeflective zone outside to it, which is the myoid zone. So myoid zone essentially is the inner segment of photoreceptors. So here the mitochondria are very less. So there is less reflection. It appears hyporeflective. We go more outside, then the junction of inner segment to outer segment photoreceptors. So this is known as ellipsoid zone. This ellipsoid zone again is hyperreflective because of more compact arrangement of mitochondria. Further outside, we have the interdigitation zone. This again appears little hyporeflective. So here the apical cells of the RP, they interdigitate with the outer segments of the photoreceptors. So very often it is very difficult to distinguish between the interdigitation zone and the RP Brooks membrane complex. However, this is also a layer which has been mentioned. And then finally, you have two hyperreflective sort of bands. One is the RP and the outer one is the Brooks membrane, and there is a slight margin of hyperreflectivity between both these. So these are the outer layers. So whenever you're talking of an OCT, the inner retina extends from the internal limiting membrane to the external limiting membrane. From the external limiting membrane to the RP Brooks membrane complex is your outer retina. So this I have explained. So coming on to some scan protocols. So scan protocols are important ones I'm telling. So one is your 5-line raster scan. So this is the highest density scan. And with a 5-line scan, when we decrease the size of the scan or length of the scan, so for example, 3 millimeter, it gives the maximum resolution. So even small structures or very minute structures could be picked up with the raster scan. And this raster scan, the position can be changed. It can be angled in different directions. Then you have radial scans. So radial are normally 12-line scans, which are arranged in equal angles. However, there are some spaces in between these scans. One important thing is that it always tells us the relationship of the lesion to the fovea. So which is more important? So essentially, in almost all diseases of the retina other than AMD, the radial scan is comparable to the raster scan, except for AMD, where the raster scan is little better because it will pick up even very small amount of fluids also. So AMD patient mein karna hai to aapne raster karna hai because it is sort of a high density scan. So chances of missing very small lesions is very, very less in this thing. However, in radial scans, in between the scans, there are spaces left. So wahan ke agar koi chote lesions honge to you could miss. One advantage of radial scan is that radial scan is more fast. So if the patient is uncooperative, then you should be doing a radial scan more. Then this is sort of an OCT report. It is a macular cube OCT report where on the left side, it shows a fundus image with superimposed retinal thickness map. So this is retinal thickness map overlay. Then you have a slice navigator, this number 2. So this can be, moved up, down, right, left in order to see the particular lesion of interest. Then we go to the ETDRS grid. So this grid gives us thickness of the retina, which in different machines, again, because of different segmentation is different, but it gives us thickness of the retina, and higher thickness is represented in, again, warmer colors, so red or yellow, and lower thickness or thinning is represented in cooler colors, so again, green or bluish, so mainly blue things. Then this is a 5-line raster scan, and then you have the structural OCT B scan. Coming on to the clinical interpretation. So whenever you are reading an OCT, you should mention from inside out. So from the vitreoretinal interface to the retinal architecture, and then the retinal RP and basement membrane complex. And of course, if you are seeing a swept source OCT or a spectral domain OCT with enhanced depth imaging protocol, then you should always be mentioning about the vitreous and the choroid and the choroidoscleral interface respectively. So coming on to what is a normal OCT. So this is a grayscale image, and we are talking about your swept source image. So in the normal OCT, the central part of the retina shows a depression. So this is a foveal depression. This depression normally shallows as the age increases. In the center part of this depression, there could be a hyperreflective focus. So this can be normally seen. Then we go down beneath the fovea. If we look at the ellipsoid zone, so the first hyperreflective zone is the external limiting membrane. The second is ellipsoid zone. So if we look at the ellipsoid zone, it shows a little bulge anteriorly. So this is known as foveal bulge at the ellipsoid zone. So this is again a common thing which is seen. And why does it happen? Because in the ellipsoid zone, the cones are very densely packed under the fovea, and the outer segments of these cones are very thin and very long, elongated. So because of the elongated length of the outer segments, ये जो zone है थोड़ा सा ऊपर उठा हुआ दिखता है. So this is normal. Then coming on to this red arrow, these sort of vertical or vertical oval structures with back shadowing, they are this is the cross section of blood vessels. So this is again normal. This is not a lesion. And so this could act as a landmark, and you could always compare it with the fundus photo. तो आपको पता चल जाएगा कि ये blood vessel के through scan आ रहा है. Then we go to the vitreous cavity. So normally the vitreous does not reflect light, so it appears completely black. But in some cases there can be hyperreflective dots in the vitreous. So it can be seen in multiple cases. So whenever you get a single OCT image, you should not, directly jump to the diagnosis. For example, like in the first picture, this is basically a case of retinitis, where these hyperreflective dots probably depict the cells in the vitreous. The second picture is a case of proliferative diabetic retinopathy. So here these hyperreflective dots, they represent the red blood cells or the hemorrhage. The third picture is a patient with diabetic retinopathy with asteroid hyalosis. So here these hyperreflective dots, they represent the asteroid hyalosis. So again here, the first case is retinitis case. You can see a retinitis patch here. So these hyperreflective dots are vitreous cells. The second is a case of PDR. Again here PDR with hemorrhage in the vitreous. So these are blood cells. And this is a typical picture of asteroid hyalosis. So you see hyperreflective dots in the vitreous, and sometimes it causes a mirror artifact. So आपको hyperreflective dots will be seen in front as well as at the back of the retina. So this mirror artifact is seen in asteroid hyalosis. Then we come to posterior vitreous phase. So what is posterior vitreous phase? So it is the condensed vitreous which overlies the internal limiting membrane. So here you should know a little bit about the posterior vitreous detachment. So in this picture, you cannot see this posterior cortical vitreous. So it can be because of two reasons. Either the posterior cortical vitreous is very densely adhered to the internal limiting membrane of the retina, or that the posterior cortical vitreous has completely separated. So there is a total PVD or posterior vitreous detachment, and it has gone too anterior to be imaged in the same image with the retina. So बहुत anterior चला गया PVD होके, इसलिए हमें नहीं दिख रहा है, या फिर this posterior vitreal cortex is very densely adhered to the inner surface of the retina. Then this is a picture where you see a hyperreflective line in front of the retina. So this is a posterior vitreous detachment. In order to be calling it a complete posterior vitreous detachment, you should always see a scan through the optic nerve head. If it has separated from the optic nerve head also, then we call it a complete PVD. Then coming on to disorders of the vitreomacular interface. So this includes vitreomacular adhesion, vitreomacular traction, then macular holes and epiretinal membranes. So coming on to vitreomacular adhesions and vitreomacular tractions. So the International Vitreomacular Traction Study Group had defined two things. One is VMA, which is vitreomacular adhesion. So it is defined as separation of perifoveal cortical vitreous. So fovea से आपका ये जो cortical vitreous है ये separate हो गया है, perifovea से separate हो गया है, which is sort of attached to the central 3 millimeter of the radius of the fovea with normal foveal contour and normal architecture. On the contrary, perifoveal separation of the posterior cortical vitreous यहाँ से separate हो गया with attachment in the central 3 millimeter zone of the fovea with distorted retinal architecture. So if the retinal architecture is distorted, we call it a vitreomacular traction. If the retinal architecture is preserved and foveal contour is preserved, we call it a vitreomacular adhesion. Then coming on to macular holes. So OCT has helped in staging of the macular holes. So macular holes have been, according to OCT, have been classified into 4 stages. So these are the 4 stages. The first is stage 1A, which is sort of an impending macular hole. On clinical examination, it appears as a yellow spot. So here, if we see sort of a VMT. So perifoveal vitreous has detached. However, the vitreous is attached to the center part of the fovea and with an inner retinal cyst or sometimes disruption of the outer retina. So this is stage 1A macular hole. ऐसा कोई picture मिले तो इसको आपने VMT नहीं बोलना है अगर inner retinal cyst मिले. So this is a stage 1A macular hole. Then stage 1B macular hole clinically is seen as a yellow ring. It is also known as occult macular hole. So here again, there is sort of VMT. So there will be traction by the vitreous and there is centrifugal displacement of the outer retinal layer. So पूरा का पूरा आपका डिफेक्ट बन जाता है. So this is stage 1B macular hole. Then stage 2 macular hole is when the perifoveal vitreous is attached to one edge of the hole. So यहाँ पे देखेंगे इस edge से ये separate हो गया है, but एक edge पे this perifoveal vitreous is attached. So this is stage 2 macular hole. Then coming on to stage 3 macular hole where there is localized separation of the vitreous from the macular hole. So यहाँ से macular hole से separate हो गया, macula से separate हो गया, but then there is not complete PVD. It has not separated from the disc. And when this vitreous separates from the disc also, there is complete PVD. We call it stage 4 macular hole. So in macular hole, an OCT scan helps in confirmation of the diagnosis. It helps in staging, like I told you. It helps in prognostication of the patient depending upon various macular hole indices. It is a very good tool to educate the patients. So कोई patient आएगा, आप उसको ये explain करेंगे कि यहाँ से आपका retinal tissue absent है. Patient will explain it better, and then obviously it can detect the presence or absence of PVD. Then there are some macular hole indices. बहुत सारे indices हैं, but 2 or 3 indices the PG should know. One is macular hole index. So what is it? It is the macular hole height divided by the basal diameter. So if it is more than 0.5, it is a good prognostic sign. Then the second one is hole form factor. So what is hole form factor? It is the sum of the left arm length and the right arm length divided by the basal diameter. So this again, this index is very important, and if it is more than 0.9, more है इसका मतलब है कि basal diameter कम है. So then the chances of macular hole closure are more. So it is again a good prognostic sign. Third, एक और होता है which is tractional hole index. So tractional hole index is the hole length divided by the minimal linear diameter. So this C is minimal linear diameter. So B divided by C is tractional hole index, and tractional hole index around more than 1.4 is considered to be a good prognostic sign. So yes, you can prognosticate the patient depending upon these macular hole indices. So if you get an OCT of macular hole, the PG should know this. Then coming on to the hole closure, after macular hole surgery, the hole can close in 2 forms. The upper left picture shows type 1 closure, the lower right picture shows type 2 closure. So this is also a closed macular hole. So type 1 closure is when there is no neurosensory retinal defect after the closure. However, in type 2, you see the edges bilkul flat ho gaye hole ke, but yes, there is a neurosensory retinal defect. However, this hole is also considered as closed hole. So इसमें और surgery की need नहीं रहती है. So ये type 1, type 2 hole closures you should know. Then coming on to epiretinal membrane. So epiretinal membrane on an OCT is seen as a hyperreflective band on the inner surface of the OCT. So OCT can differentiate between a globally attached or a focally attached ERM. So globally is when it is completely adhered, and focally is when there are interrupted focal attachments. Then there is a newer OCT terminology which is known as ectopic inner foveal layer, EIFL. So this is seen in patients with epiretinal membrane. So normally on the right side, if we see the fovea, it does not have any inner layers. So inner layers are absent from the fovea. यहाँ पर आपके सिर्फ outer retinal layers, outer layers ही आ रहे हैं. However, in ectopic inner foveal layer, what happens is कि ERM में because of continued anteroposterior traction and continued sort of centripetal traction, there is displacement and reorganization of these inner layers of the retina. So ये inner layers खिंच के fovea के नीचे आ जाते हैं. So primarily the inner nuclear layer, ये जो hyporeflective nuclear वाली layer आ रही है, and the inner plexiform layer. So normally inner plexiform, inner nuclear layer ये fovea में नहीं present होती हैं. So ये खिंच के आ गई because of reorganization. So this is ectopic क्योंकि इस area में नहीं है, and inner foveal layer. So obviously ectopic inner foveal layer is a bad prognostic sign. So depending upon the presence and absence of this EIFL, there is a newer staging of on the basis of OCT. There is a newer staging of epiretinal membrane where stage 1 is presence of epiretinal membrane with foveal contour normal or normal architecture of the retina. Stage 2 is an epiretinal membrane with loss of foveal contour and thickening of the outer nuclear layer. Stage 3 is an epiretinal membrane with obviously loss of foveal contour and with inner ectopic layers. And stage 4 is with continued traction, you will obviously see an epiretinal membrane loss of foveal contour, but here the ectopic inner foveal layers are also lost. So basically ectopic inner foveal layer अगर present है तो उसको हम stage 3 RM बोलते हैं, and it is a bad prognosticator sign. Then foveal contour can be absent in many sort of diseases or lesions. For example, in foveal hypoplasia, in cases of pulling mechanisms like in BMT I just told, in cases of pushing mechanisms, so supposedly a choroidal lesion or a CNVM which pushes it above, उसमें भी आपका foveal contour absent होगा, and some combined push-pull mechanisms also. So this was all about vitreomacular interface. After this, we go to the retinal layer. So we'll be talking about inner retina first and then the outer retina. So first we go, behind this posterior cortical vitreous and the internal limiting membrane. So normally this space between the posterior cortical vitreous and internal limiting membrane is empty. So this space does not have anything. So here in this OCT picture, we see a hyperreflective lesion, which is sort of, coming from the retina and going into this space, and then going, it is breaching the internal limiting membrane and it is going to the posterior vitreous cortex. So what is this? This is most likely a neovascularization elsewhere, or NVE. So like in last lecture, I told you there is something known as intraretinal microvascular abnormality, and there is something which is NVE. इन दोनों को differentiate करने के लिए जो normal imaging tool होता है, that is an angiography. So angiography में NVE will profusely leak in the subsequent stages of the angiogram, subsequent phases of the angiogram. In an IRMA, it normally does not leak. On an OCT, if you don't have an FA, then also you can differentiate. So in intraretinal microvascular abnormality, it is intraretinal. So it will never breach an ILM. Retina के ही layers में दिखेगा beneath the ILM. However, neovascularization will grow from the retina, then breach the ILM, and then it will grow into the vitreous. So ये आगे grow करके आएगा. Then inner retina, I told you, it extends from the internal limiting membrane to the external limiting membrane. तो ये सारा का सारा आपका inner retina है. Then we come to retinal nerve fiber layer. This OCT is a normal OCT. अभी हम outer retina नहीं देख रहे हैं. This nerve fiber layer is thicker on one side and it is thinner on the other side. So normally the nerve fiber layer is thicker on nasal side. This is normal, we all know. So by just seeing the OCT, we can tell कि हाँ यहाँ पे nerve fiber layer thick है. So this is the nasal side of the OCT and this is the temporal side. Then coming on to some lesions of the nerve fiber layer. Here you see the inner retina has become thinned out and the nerve fiber layer is lost. This could be seen in certain ischemic insults. In the second picture, you see a hyperreflective sort of globular lesion. If we trace the nerve fiber layer, ये जो hyperreflective आपकी inner layer है, if we trace it, so we see yes, this is sort of a fusiform swelling of the nerve fiber layer. So the nerve fiber layer here has thickened. So this thickening of the nerve fiber layer can either be seen in infarcts of nerve fiber layer, which are cottonwool spots, or it could be seen in tumors of nerve fiber layer. So here, this is basically an astrocytic hematoma. So this picture is a case of tuberous sclerosis. इसमें आपका ये nerve fiber layer thickened मिलता है. Then in a retina, we come to lamellar macular hole. So OCT can differentiate